We hear so much, and often with good reason, about the difficulties caused by those who can't be intimate, who seem to have constructed an impenetrable fortress around their hearts. They appear incapable of disclosing anything of what they genuinely feel. But it can take time, sometimes a lifetime, to register and understand the opposite, but no less grave problem: the challenge posed by those who cannot keep enough of themselves to themselves. These are the individuals whose deep, aching hunger for closeness overwhelms any concern for their own safety and dignity. In a poignant, almost desperate bid to hold the attention of others, they will lay out, within minutes of a new encounter, the most fragile secrets of their lives, secrets that, in a calmer moment, they might recognize would have been wiser to take to the grave. They treat their personal history not as a sacred text to be shared with the worthy, but as a flyer to be handed out to anyone who will take it. This isn't to deny the initial, often intoxicating fun that oversharers can bring to social life. At a dinner party or a first meeting, they are a bolt of lightning. These won't be the types to engage in polite, cautious small talk about the economic contraction or where they last went on holiday. For them, such topics are a waste of precious time. Contact with other humans, they passionately believe, should be about getting directly to the marrow of things, to the raw, unfiltered truth of existence. And so, we will quickly get to hear about their ex's most private sexual difficulty, the vicious, tear-filled row they had with a sibling over their mother's will, exactly how much they earned down to the last cent, the embarrassing troubles they have with their digestion, their favorite and most unconventional bedroom position, and the precise, painful nature of an early childhood trauma. They offer up these details with a disarming candor that can feel, at first, like a profound gift of trust. We may feel special, chosen as the recipient of such honesty. The difficulty, however, lies not in the moment of sharing, but in the silent, lonely aftermath. The true toll of these divulgences is imposed on the oversharers themselves. An evening of what felt like thrilling, authentic connection is too often followed by a shame-ridden awakening. In the stark light of morning, now that the wine has worn off and the laughter has dissipated, they may feel as though they were seized by an impulse with which they don't truly identify. It's a feeling often described as a vulnerability hangover. They mentally replay the conversation, cringing at their own lack of boundaries. They feel emotionally naked, exposed, and foolish. It was an urge to invite others into their deep self, but an urge that came without the corresponding strength to impose the barest of checks on who the recipient might be. They gave away the keys to their innermost world before even asking the visitor their name. A painful and complex developmental story almost always lies behind this compulsion. At its core, we share too much when, at some crucial stage in our lives, we have been too lonely. We fail to understand the very real risks of overexposure when we have suffered in environments, perhaps a childhood homey in which so little that was sincere or real was ever exchanged. If love and attention were scarce, we may have learned that a dramatic disclosure was the only way to get a reaction, to feel seen, even for a moment. We rush to confess because no one ever showed us a steady, composed, and safe route to intimacy. Intimacy, in a healthy model, is a slow dance, a gradual process of mutual revelation built on a foundation of trust. But for the oversharer, that model is never available. To the isolated former child, no internal alarm sounds at the thought of having a completely unbarred conversation with a charismatic character who just entered the room 20 minutes ago. The potential reward, the promise, and intoxicating lure of togetherness feels so immense that it completely eclipses any potential risk. Such has been the crushing burden of their secrecy and isolation. But there is a path forward. With time, awareness, and a commitment to self-compassion, we can begin to heal this pattern. We can make our peace with remaining, for a time, somewhat more mysterious to new people. This isn't about being deceptive or cold. It's about being discerning. We can learn to more judiciously weigh up the short-term, high-intensity sugar rush of a quick disclosure against the slower, deeper, and more lasting satisfactions of safety and genuine trust. As a result, we might tell very few people indeed what's truly going on for us in the turbulent realms of love, with the private realities of our health, or with the anxieties of our work. We do this not because we want to be unkind, withholding, or boring, but because our first and most sacred priority has finally become to look after ourselves. We are learning to be the guardians of our own stories, understanding that they are precious and should be handled with care. This newfound self-protection has practical applications. We realize we don't have to answer too many intrusive questions. A simple, polite, "I'd rather not talk about that," is a perfectly valid response. Nor, as importantly, do we feel the need to ask such questions of others, respecting their boundaries as we learn to fortify our own. It isn't, we can learn any reason to panic if we find we're still talking about what someone did over the weekend, their opinion on a new film, or their favorite kind of gloves after the first course of a meal. We don't have to feel boring for ending up in many a seemingly boring conversation. These conversations are not a sign of failure. They're a sign of wisdom. We are no longer rushing to the finish line. We are enjoying the journey. We aren't dull at heart. We're just calmly and patiently working out in a quiet process that could take months or even years, whether we've stumbled upon one of those very rare, very special characters who have truly earned the right to hear from the deepest parts of us. We are conducting a gentle, extended interview for the most important position in our lives, that of a trusted confidant. Ultimately, learning to guard our inner world is not an act of closing ourselves off, but an act of profound self-respect. It is the understanding that our stories, our vulnerabilities, and our truths are precious gifts to be shared, not commodities to be offered to the first bidder. The most beautiful and lasting connections are not forged in a rush of frantic disclosure, but built slowly, brick by brick, on a foundation of trust, safety, and mutual discernment. By honoring our own need for security, we create the space for an intimacy that is truly authentic and sustainable, one that enriches us rather than leaves us exposed. If this journey of self-understanding and building healthier, more meaningful connections resonates with you, we invite you to subscribe to our channel. Join our community for more insights into emotional intelligence and the art of living wisely.